The world of light aircraft is changing. Gone are the days of paying eye-watering hourly rates to wrestle a 50-year-old trainer that flies like an arthritic lawnmower into the air. No more squinting at a cockpit full of jaundiced dials that look like they've been stolen from a junkyard 1970s VW. And no more peeling vinyl, rattling panels and throttle levers that feel like they're held together with hope and duct tape. Welcome to the future. This is the Skyleader 400. Brand new, and with the recent microlight weight increase, you can fly one from as little as 25 hours training from scratch and with no formal medical. It's fast, it's sleek, it's economical to run and maintain, and it looks nothing like the microlights or ultralights of old. Today I'm going to test fly it and I'm going to tell you all about it and why, even if you're just starting out and are thinking of making a career of your flying, you should consider this easy access modern alternative that could be coming to a flight school near you soon. The future's here now and it's called Skyleader.
NX5 November Kilo descend flight level 90.
So today we're in a little short flight to Nut Hampstead.
Flight level 80.
My favourite little farm strip. And it's not about Nut Hampstead itself. I've done plenty of videos on that in the past. We're going to see a new aircraft. The actual dealer's based at North Weald, ironically, but we're meeting at Nut Hampstead because we can have a good look at it there without interfering with the operations at North Weald. It's not in the same category as the Sport Cruiser, although weight-wise and spec-wise it's very, very similar. Similar performance, actually slightly better performance than the Sport Cruiser. Same weight, pretty much same useful load, but we'll find out more about it when we get there. It's a Czech-built aircraft, as is the Sport Cruiser, all metal, and I think you're going to like it. So before we get there, I'll give you a quick overview of the aircraft and some of the specs.
This is the pretty looking Skyleader 400, and as I said, an all metal Czech built 600 kilo microlight in the UK, ultralight in Europe and LSA in the States. With an overall length of 6.4 metres or 21 feet 8 inches and a wingspan of 9.2 metres or 30 feet and 2 inches, the Skyleader 400 is well proportioned. She weighs in empty at 340 kilos or 750 pounds and has the capacity to hold 120 litres or just under 32 US gallons between two wing tanks. Powered by either the Rotax 912UL, ULS or the fuel-injected 912IS, the power plant can be mounted with a number of prop options, including an in-flight adjustable unit. Performance-wise, the Skyleader 400 coupled to the 100 horsepower engine will cruise at 75% power, sipping less than 15 litres an hour or just under 4 US gallons an hour of either avgas or MOGAS at a cruise speed of 104 knots true. Skyleader 400 is also great at the low end, and with full flap, stalling happens at just 41 knots. And with the high power to weight ratio, Skyleader 400 could safely operate out of 1,000 foot or 300 metre strips. I've often heard comments about how light sport aircraft are only any good for local flying. Well, that may be the case for some LSAs, but not the Skyleader. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a great aircraft for exploring small strips and airfields in the local area. But if you want to take it further, it's got the legs. For the 2025 Sun and Fun, Mike, the US dealer, and new pilot Matthew flew one from Ridley, just outside Fresno in California, crossing the Rockies at 12,500 feet all the way to Lakeland in Florida, a distance of some 2,500 nautical miles. And if you're wondering if this kind of trip can only be done by a highly experienced pilot, think again, because Matthew flew it all the way back again solo via Texas to see his mum with just over 100 hours total time on his licence. They averaged just over 3 US gallons an hour to do the 5,000 nautical mile round trip.
Scrubbing off a little bit of height. Rabbit on the bloody runway, isn't it? Don't know what that is. No, it wasn't a rabbit, it was a bird of prey.
I'm the first to arrive at Nut Hampstead, and after a close encounter with a massive bird of prey on the runway, I park up and await the arrival of Vince in Goopy, who's going to help me film the Skyleader when it arrives from North Weald. I'm not waiting long before Vince arrives and we set up in anticipation. Just 10 minutes later, the Skyleader 400 is on final for Hampstead's 400 metre or 1300 foot runway 05. Ash performs a low pass so we can get some footage, and then completes a circuit and lands. I must admit, I can't believe this is a microlight. It looks so like normal, like a really modern regular light aircraft. Ash parks up and I jump in for my first flight in the Skyleader 400. Getting into the Skyleader 400 is relatively straightforward, but it does require full body mobility to manoeuvre into the exceptionally comfortable leather seats. I like the cabin's black paint job, and it really helps you to focus on the view outside.
Clear prop.
I wouldn't describe it as roomy, it's more compact. However, you're not cuddling up to your passenger, and it's certainly better than any Cessna 152. As we backtrack the strip at Nut Hampstead, I found the ride really smooth from that trailing link main gear, and directional control was good. However, not anything like the Sport Cruiser I'm used to, with its castering nose wheel that allows you to turn pretty much on the spot. As we power up and start our takeoff run, it doesn't take long before we hit 50 knots and climb into the air, and almost immediately get to 70 knots when it's time to put the flaps away. I'm surprised at the sprightly performance of the Skyleader 400, as we must be close to the maximum takeoff weight. At first I wasn't sure about the wide central fuselage piece that divides the canopy into two. I thought it would be too obtrusive and restrict your lookout, but to be honest, after a few minutes I didn't even notice it. Ash tells me that it acts as a safety cell to protect you if the aircraft should ever flip over.
It does feel really balanced. It's and what I like about it is there's a real solid, like you said, it feels like a much bigger aeroplane. It feels like you're lugging around more weight.
Yes. So for students, say somebody's used to a 172 or a 152, they'll find this fine.
Yep.
The controls are well harmonised in both pitch and roll, with a reassuring weight that gives the Skyleader 400 a more substantial, larger aircraft feel than its 600 kilos would suggest. Ash tells me that the feel is based on a typical training aircraft like a Cessna 172, making transition to the type much easier. One thing I did notice was that there's a lot more rudder required than in the Sport Cruiser, especially in high bank turns and at higher power settings. Again, in a training environment, this helps students to ensure they're using their feet. Ash demonstrates a few of the gadgets, including the excellent, if basic, autopilot, and then we head back to Nut Hampstead. This is my first landing in the Skyleader 400, and like all Rotax powered light sport aircraft, the Skyleader is responsive and reacts quickly to any sink or ballooning on final. As we touch down, I feel that landing gear and the grass have combined to make it smoother than it probably deserves. Once back on the ground, Ash gives me a quick overview of some of the features and, of course, the price.
Yeah, so this is the Skyleader 400. It's just recently received its type approval as a 600 kilogram microlight in the UK. It's manufactured in the Czech Republic by Air Operation Technologies. So it comes as a factory-built, ready-to-fly aircraft. Ballistic parachute is included as a standard fit. It's part of the standard equipment.
So like the Shark that I looked at last year, this comes under this, is that right, Ash? Comes under this exactly the same
Yes, the same
regime.
It's the same regime, yeah. B-Guard Section S, yeah.
Okay, so that means that you can fly it on a microlight license?
Yes, you can fly it on a UK microlight license, an NPPL or a LAPL, all of those licenses you can do, and using a self-declared medical.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good point. So again, like the Shark, no real formal medical. It's just a self-signature. Just sign it off, and if you're healthy enough, you can tick all the boxes. You can go fly this.
And it's ideally suited for the flight training market. That's the main thing about the 400. This was designed to be a easy-to-handle flight training aircraft. So you can see some of the design features. The nose wheel has been extended further to avoid any prop strikes, and the main landing gears have been beefed up. And being an all-metal aircraft, I mean, that's the main thing flight schools ask about, is easy to repair. So if you had a small issue, you can easily get that panel replaced. In Czech Republic, there are flight schools that have done more than 6,000 hours with this airframe, been through 3 engines. So it's a workhorse.
Well proven.
So currently in the UK, this is certified only with the props, because all the flight testing was done on this aircraft. But if somebody wants slightly better performance, we're now certifying the constant speed version of this e-props. So in-flight adjustable constant speed unit. That will further improve. We've seen nearly 400 feet per minute improvement in climb and about 10 knots improvement in the top end of cruise. So
the wing itself, is there anything special about that?
yeah, so it's a trapezoidal wing. It's the Skyleader 400 has standard flaps, whereas the other model, the 600 that we are bringing in, will have Fowler flaps. So you get much lower stall speeds. The wing is a standard wing in the Skyleader applications. Only the wing tip is different from various models. So this wing and the wing spar configuration has been in production for over 25 years. The fleet average is well over 400,000 airframe hours. So it's a really proven installation of the wing. And for a flight school operation, it's easy to take the wings off. You've got just 3 bolts holding this section of the wing. The landing gear is part of the fuselage section, so you can just take the wings off in about 2 hours, get the wings off, and have the aircraft loaded in a trailer or something if you want to move it to take it to a show or something like that. This aircraft comes with a standard VFR 6-pack, you can call it, and we've also added a Canadian Horace, which gives you the artificial horizon. Yeah, electric trim controlled by on the stick, the trim, electric flap selector. See the flaps going down. So this aircraft, the empty weight is about 350 kilos. So you've got 250 kilos of useful load with fuel and passengers. The baggage compartment is quite deep. You've got these in the net, but if you put your hand in, you can see that they're quite deep bins, and the maximum is about 30 kilos worth of baggage. Yeah, in terms of performance, on your eco cruise, you're doing about 4,800 RPM. You easily see about 105 knots in the cruise. I did the trip to Prague last year and back, and we were doing 110 knots through mostly, because we were at about 8,000 feet. So you get really good cross-country performance, and stall speeds are relatively low. With full flaps, you stall at 41 knots.
Okay, well, while you're there, might as well answer the question that everyone wants to know. So, price-wise, this aircraft, I'm assuming it's in kind of like it's in a demonstrator spec, really,
yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, it's a high spec, yeah.
It's a higher spec. Yeah. So can you give us a rough idea of, I mean, these things are changing all the time, especially at the moment, but
yeah,
a rough idea of what the price would be for a base model, and then perhaps something like this, and then if you had it fully loaded with everything.
Yeah, so in terms of pricing, the very basic model with the 80 horsepower, obviously you can have the 80 horse Rotax engine in this, with the same e-props, you're looking at about, with basic VFR avionics, £100,000 plus VAT, so 120,000 all in for a really basic model. This one, 100 horse Rotax, and a fancy paint job being the spec, leather interior, and additional autopilot and electronic, you're looking 150,000, again including VAT. The top spec, I would say, with the Dynon autopilot controller, you're looking 160 to 165, including VAT.
So what are my overall thoughts on the Skyleader 400? I was genuinely impressed. The design and build quality are superb, with a high level of refinement and excellent attention to detail throughout. Performance was solid, exactly what you'd expect from a Rotax 912 ULS paired with a lightweight airframe. But what really stood out was the handling. Despite flying in fairly turbulent conditions, the aircraft remained remarkably stable for such a light machine. It absorbs bumps with ease, and the well-balanced controls provide such a natural feel that there was never any urge to overcorrect. It simply felt composed and confidence-inspiring throughout the flight. There was a few things I wasn't so keen on though. I found getting in and out through the fragile gull wing doors quite awkward, and I can see this may be an area that gets regular damage on a busy school's flight line. Also, although the aircraft had an externally adjustable aileron trim tab, I would have preferred to have seen an internal electric roll trim. The Skyleader does have dihedral wings, which keeps it naturally laterally stable. However, with changes in payload and fuel imbalances, a remotely adjustable trim would make life so much easier. And the other thing, of course, and this affects all aircraft of this class, is the lack of IFR or nighttime operations and the limited payload. But that's the price you have to pay for minimal training and no physical medical. Finally, the price. It is expensive, but you're getting a well-engineered factory-built aircraft that will maintain its desirability and value for years to come. I've always looked at buying into an aircraft, whether that be outright or as a share, as a bit of an investment. Yes, you will have the maintenance costs, and in a microlight they are very minimal, but you won't lose too much of your investment over time, and in many cases inflation means you may lose nothing at all, or in some cases even make money when it's time to sell. Skyleader are pushing this as a training aircraft and want to see it in schools for ab initio training, and now that the rules have changed in the UK and microlight hours finally count towards your full PPL, there's really no reason for this not to work. After all, what would you want to learn in? A 40 to 50-year-old span can? Or this? I hope you found this video interesting, and I've included the factory, UK and US dealerships below if you want to find out more. So I'd just like to say thank you to Vince for helping me film this, and for Ash for bringing the aircraft over for review. I've received no payment or favour for this video, and although I have had some content provided to me by Skyleader UK, this is an independent review and my honest thoughts on the aircraft. If you'd like to see how the Skyleader stacks up against the Shark that I mentioned earlier in the video, you can watch this video here. Thank you so much for watching, fly safe and Shortfield out.